I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching the Apothecary Diaries Season 1, Episode 20. Last episode was the best episode of the entire series. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Best episode thus far.
That's true.
I'm leaving it open so that the next couple episodes could surprise me. Actually, I don't even think it would surprise me. I would not be surprised.
There's so much that I want out of this next episode, like a deeper dive into the feelings that Lacan had while seeing Mao Mao being carried out by Jinshi, the feelings that Jinshi had, the putting together of information that Mao Mao hopefully will be able to do now after seeing Jinshi within the ceremony, seeing what the connection Suri has to this entire situation, what that is, what motives there are. Is it connected to Lao Lin? Like, there's so much that needs to be unpacked now, and I don't know what to expect out of this episode.
Am I supposed to take name connection between Suri and Suren? When we were given a daughter's dress to wear, is it a daughter that had a major growth spurt and can no longer wear that dress? Maybe. Something that I started thinking about in terms of Lacan after watching last episode, we were talking a lot about, his facial expression, how the camera moves in his POV as we're following Mao Mao being carried in Jinshi's arms. And I just can't help but think about, we were talking about how it almost felt to us like a shock or a surprise type feeling, or maybe even like bewilderment, anger, maybe even that Mao Mao was hurt. He also is not bowing, which lends even more to this being such a oh my god moment for him.
Yeah.
Such a shocking moment that unlike everyone else that we see who has ample time to recognize the situation and bow, he is not.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would take that as a read of acting improperly in front of Jinshi. I would take it more of an emotional state from him moment.
I would agree with you. I completely agree. Lacan has got to be, I think, my favorite character within this series now, just in terms of early on, I could be like, oh, fuck that guy, he's a creep, but he could still be one of my favorite characters in a story, And obviously my feelings about him have changed of how I view him and what he wants to do and his feelings toward Mao Mao, but he's just so fascinating. He's so multifaceted, and I cannot wait to see more of him.
Him and Suri are currently in this place for me where I'm like, are you just leading to the facts? Are you meddling to lead to the facts? Or are you involved at all with the perpetration of the acts?
For me, Suri definitely is. Like, with the pipe and everything, I think Suri definitely is.
That's why I added the second being, are we meddling to lead?
Interesting.
Being like, maybe you knew someone was going to steal something, so you created another coincidence to happen at the same time so that maybe someone would look into it a little bit more. So I just wanted to bring up that as another category, because it's not just like totally hands-off leading or did it. I think there is a middle ground where they could have been creating their own coincidences at the same time.
That's fair, but the whole Morning Glory line.
Okay, so I want to bring up the Morning Glories too, because I feel like I have to think about them in the way that we talk about Fuyu and the Cotton Rose. When we are introduced to Lady Fuyu in episode 3, we go into the explanation of what the flower is that she is named after and why it represents the arc of her story and or her personality. When we bring up a specific flower here for Suri, I have to read into it for either she's viewing that as the arc of her story or it is. The Morning Glory is a flower that's oftentimes thought of rebirth, death, life. It blooms in the same way the cotton rose changes colors throughout the day. I'm pretty sure the Morning Glory closes by the nighttime. And if Suri's plant, there are going to be Morning Glories planted here soon. Is it because she views her own life, if she was meddling or perpetrating, doing criminal acts, Is the morning glories for the sake of her or for the sake of the life that could have been taken if Mao Mao didn't take action last episode? Who were the morning glories for?
That's where I lean.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I find myself so nervous right now. Like,
Why?
I honestly genuinely feel nervous. Sandalwood.
Wow. How worried was Jinshi?
What is the treatment for her for saving his life, you know? 15 stitches.
Better here than at the infirmary. Wow.
Who's everyone? Who's everyone?
そりゃ主人が危険にさらされればね。だからとて怒鳴られる筋合いはないのだが。無作法ですみません。
気にするな。どういう経緯であの場所にやってきたのか、なぜ柱が落ちるのが分かったのか、説明してもらおうか。
わかりました。あれは偶然が重なり合った事故です。まるで意図的に偶然が引き寄せられたようでした。そういう意味では事故ではなく事件と言えるでしょう。
Conspiracy, not an
の
accident.
偶然は去年、霊部の高官である光年様が亡くなったことです。二つ目に、倉庫でぼやが起き、同時に別の場所で細具が盗まれたこと。そして三つ目は、ほぼ同時期に管理者が食中毒で倒れたことです。
He was there for some of
そ
that.
のどれもが誰かの思惑で起こされたと。
Or some a group of people.
さらにもう一つ重要なことがあります。
なんだ？
細具です。祭事では祭壇の柱を金属線で吊り上げに固定していました。もし事故に見せかけるのであれば金具を狙うでしょう。
そんなものが盗まれたら作り直さないわけがないだろう。
作り直したでしょうね。祭事にふさわしい凝った装飾をすると考えられます。
And it was a new person who was making
心
it.
当たりがありました。
亡くなった彫金職人か。
彫金細工師によって作り直されたのです。この金具が熱で壊れるようになっていた。
Oh, God.
バカか、金属だぞ。そんな程度の熱。
You were there. You were there.
金細工師の秘伝の技術を使えば火の
God.
そばにあるだけで溶けてしまうのです。
He's like, shit, you're right.
Or someone that just knew his technique.
おそらくに金具を作ったのだと思います。あの特殊な金属で作ってくれとでも頼まれて。
God
This
damn it.
guy.
で事故が起きれば職人も不審に思います。その前に消してしまえば依頼人の名も低温で溶けるつも闇に放
God.
とても都合が良かったです。
殺されたのか。
それはわかりません。ですが、そう見せかけた事件の可能性もあります。死んだ職人に金具の製作を頼んだ人間は、その技術が何であるか知っていた。私が言えるのはここまでです。
わかった。
まさかあの場に人士様がいるとは。
She's been asleep this whole time. She hasn't.
続いていたら、何者なんだよこいつ。
I love Mao Mao.
大掛かりな事件で命を狙われるに値する人
Go back to your original thought. Swapping babies.
だところで面倒なだけ。
Nah. Believe it.
もう私には関係ない。
Sufri doesn't look anything like the guy, right?
はい。お客様よ。
例の事件、水霊という患女が関係していたんだが、
やはり水霊か。
死体で見つかったよ。
They found her corpse.
が部屋に乗り込んだ時には毒を煽って倒れていたらしい。
Wow.
夜検視も済んで死亡も確認された。
Wow.
In the intro, we get that one person waking up from a casket, though.
Interesting. Maybe she's not actually dead. It acts as if she's dead and then she can wake up.
She did get the medicine from the place by herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though she's a court lady.
毒を煽って死んだ。本当にこれで終わりなのか。いや、それ以前に自殺するような女だろうか。投げやりな態度は先がないと分かっていたからか。あの時の試すような口ぶり。ここに朝顔を植える。
Something to bring somebody back from the dead.
Something to bring someone back from the... I wonder if morning glories can be used as like a poison that, or some sort of agent that makes it mimics death.
約束じゃダメだ。断言できない。ジンス様、お願いしたいことがあります。
なんだ？
水霊を検視した医官と死体置き場で。
お前は何を笑って？
好奇心に負けた。
She's not gonna be in there, is she?
薬屋が入るなら俺も行く。
I love you, Jinshi.
わかりました。
Is it bolted closed?
お待たせして申し訳ありません。
この医官が検視を。
This doctor.
The one that...
話していた患女が死んで、
Mhm.
なおかつ罪人扱いされ、やつれもするだろう。でもそれだけだろうか。単刀直入に聞きます。患女が飲んだ毒にマンダラケが使われていませんでしたか。馬屋の上の小高い丘、あそこにマンダラケを植えたのではありませんか。毒性は強いですが、適量なら麻酔薬として作用します。マンダラケは白い朝。
Looks like a morning glory.
断言はできない。
では実際に確かめてみましょう。
Holy shit.
何をする？
黙って見てください。
やめろ。
開きました。
Maybe he didn't want to believe it. Different woman. Different woman.
そんな、確かに。
水霊でしたか。
They just swapped it out.
水霊を見間違えるわけが。脈も心の像も動いていなかった。綺麗なもんだったよ。
いいように利用されたんですね。毒の正体を解明するために死体を切り刻もうと。
Maybe he didn't wanna. She used to her advantage that...
それを見越していた。マンダラケだけではありません。医局の薬の在庫数を調べれば何を使ったかわかると思います。この医官を責めるとすれば薬の管理が不十分だったことだろうか。
どういうことだ？遺体が違うというのは。
棺桶を燃やすにしても中身が空だと怪しまれます。
No human ash, no bones.
代わりの死体を入れて持ち込みすり替えたのでしょう。
水霊の遺体はどうなる？持ち出すにしても目立つだろ
う。持ち出す必要はありません。
She walked out.
自分で歩いて帰ったのですから。
死んでいたのではないのか？
人を死んだように見せる薬があります。
聞いたことはあるが、そんなのは幻想だ。どんなものだ？
遠い異国にあるというその薬は人を一度殺し、しばらくの後、詳しくはわかりませんが、材料にマンダラケとフグを使うと聞きました。
シャオマオ。
Stepping on the
ガオシュン
leg.
様、空の棺桶を調べていただ。
釘の跡です。
おそらく死んだ水霊が入っていたのでしょう。助けに来た者が棺桶を開ける頃に息を吹き返した。別の死体が入った棺桶を代わりに置き、業者の格好に変装して。
そんな確証のない方法を取ったというのか。
どの道見つかれば死罪になるのでしょう。私なら喜んで。
What would they do without Mao Mao?
いや、お前の場合違うだろ。
水霊は賭けに勝ったということです。代わりの死体が燃やされた後なら完全勝利だったはずですが。
Not on my
I
watch.
love how excited Mao Mao's
But
getting.
why would she have hinted it at
I'd
Mao
like to
Mao?
meet her.
その事件を事故に見せかけた知識、何より自分の命を賭
She
けの
was
代償
testing
にしてま
her.
でしたしたたかさ。
I think it was confidence.
I don't know. Mao Mao
こんな
phrased it
人
as
物が
testing
さっ
her.
さとくたばっては面白くないだろう。よみがえりの妙薬、 絶対に作り方を教えてもらう。あ、すみません。
なんだ。
足を縫ってもらえませんか。
Oh my god,
傷
Mau
が
Mau.
開いたようなので。
Just a good maniacal laughter to make you feel better.
Lao Lin. News about Suri being okay.
結局水霊のことは秘密裏に終わらせた。水霊という感情についても曖昧な点が多い。数年前彼女の才能を見抜き養女に迎えたらしいが、それ以前のことはよくわからないという。長丁場になりそうだな。
I'm here for it. Let it take a long time.
送り届けてきました。また傷口が開くようなことをされてはいけませんから。
心配なのは怪我だけではない。変人こと羅漢のこともある。父親であることは確かなようだが、薬屋の態度を見る限り事情があるのだろう。明日は高級だな。
はい、いつもと同じです。
すなわち微妙な味だと。
嫌なら飲まなくてもよろしいのに。
一応のけじめだ。宦官としての洗練された所作、天女の笑み、蜂蜜の声。たった5年前に宦官となった弱い24の男。それが人種なのだ。
That's Jinshi.
人種の仮面をかぶると決めてから、
Oh.
こうして毎日男でなくす薬を。
Wow.
That's why his face appears with no horns or hair. Horns or hair.
お前だって同じだろ。
子はもう成人していますし、先日
Wow.
生まれました。
孫って上の息子の方か。
はい、末の息子もそろそろ。
You're that old?
そうですんだ。
まあ知ってバゼンだろ。まだそうじゃないか。
あなた様と同じ
19.
19です。
宦官人種は24だが、さっさとお手つきを作ってこんな仕事を終わらせろとでも言いたげだな。
早く孫を抱かせてください。
努力する。
Aw.
ごきげんよう、人種様。
今日もまた素敵な衣装ですね。
She really does appear like she's from somewhere far away.
あまり触手が動かないという。気はかなりの洒落者で、髪も化粧もコロコロ変わる。旅に妃が誰かわからなくなり混乱するそうだ。10日に一度は通うことにしているらしい。ローラン妃の父親が先の皇太后に気に入られた重臣であり、下手に扱うわけにはいかないからだ。乗り気でないといえばリーシュ妃も同じだ。先の帝の幼児趣味を嫌悪している今の皇帝はリーシュ妃に手を出すつもりはなさそうだ。頃に今の皇帝を産んだ皇太后はその十数年後もう一人子を産んでいる。イカンは皇太后につきっきりになり、何事もなくアードー妃の出産は皇太后の出産と重なったためにないがしろにされ、アードー妃は子宮を失い、今の皇帝の初めての巫女も、もしその時の子が今生きていれば。くだらぬ妄想だ。さっさと次の東宮をこしらえてしまえばいい。随分とお疲れのようですが。
はいはい、あなたたちはお仕事に戻って。実は
Pregnant?
ですか。
ああ、玉葉妃の月の道が途絶えているらしい。
すなわち妊娠の可能性があると。
今日からでも行けるか。
はい、
頼んだぞ。
むしろ都合がいい。高級内は男子禁制。顔を合わせることはないだろう。もしかして気を使ってくれたのだろうか。また毒味役。
Letting her go back even though she'd been fired.
そんなことは。
ね、せっかく期待外がある子
Damn.
だと思う。ねえ。
問題ありません。
The Emperor
Look at
there.
Gyoku's daughter.
これといった確証はない。
Aww.
アードー妃の件でも思ったが、親父じゃないのかもしれない。
The fact that he
Wants to spend time with her, even
And
though she isn't a son.
And detests the man before him about
代わり
Lishu.
に入内してきたのは宮廷にすら影響を与えかねない。だからといって子ができても厄介。
ねえねえ、聞いた？三姫の一人が身請けされるんだって。
What?
We did.
Okay, that was the Apothecary Diaries season 1 episode 20. I want to just make it a fact that I am utterly blown away at how this story is able to pace itself and have every episode matter and intertwine into such a beautiful symphony of a mystery being revealed in front of us. It is so magnificent. It's perfect. It is so well written. It is one of the most well written first seasons of any show I have ever seen. Live action, anime, whatever. It's phenomenal.
I would agree with that. I don't know why I went into this episode almost expecting some sort of something that now that I realize I was thinking or wanting something that maybe was unusual for the pattern, which was a bigger like reveals, making a bigger deal about Mao Mao and Jinshi kind of learning things about each other, what the repercussions, like I guess I pictured almost like actual resolution to the plot, like the murder plot. And more of a conversation or focus on, oh my god, I know who Jinshi is now. Or a conversation with Lakan. You know, like I almost pictured this next episode to be this bigger display, which does not fit with the pattern at all that we've been given. Jinshi says it himself that this matter has kind of been swept under the rug, kind of kept secret. Things are still being kept close to the chest in the same way that conjecture should be, or matters that if you let it out, people could then surmise something that you don't want them to from the little fact that you do give. And I should be seeing that from the pattern of all of the other happenings that have happened across this entire season. That they happen, we don't fully resolve them, or they resolve quietly or kind of to some degree, and then we move past them. And it's been this whole time like this continuous intrigue and building, but we're kind of moving carefully and slowly and weaving through this political landscape.
I feel like in terms of who Jinshi is, we need to remind ourselves that we have such an unfair perspective of this entire situation. And the fact that Mao Mao even theorized the way that she did about Jinshi's origin was more than conjecture, but it was also more than anybody in this entire universe could think would be played out. Not only potentially who Jinshi truly is, but the idea that somebody would go to the lengths that the person Jinshi does in order to conceal their identity and maintain this character is so out of pocket and left field that not a single person, like Mao Mao having the idea of Ao Duo having a different, you know, Ao Duo's baby still being alive is completely different than the character of Jinshi being a facade and aged up and being able to fake, you know, being a eunuch by suppressing your manhood. Like that is in its own like seasons ahead type of mystery and reveal that would need to be played out.
In terms of the landscape of the entire world finding out, not even just Mao Mao.
No, just Mao Mao even.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Mao Mao is, other than us, the viewer, if we exclude us, the viewer, because like you said, we are having a very inside view to things that Mao Mao's not even receiving. But Mao Mao is receiving more than anyone else is in terms of her interactions with Jinshi. With Mao Mao, Jinshi puts the mask down and is vulnerable. And there have been moments of time scattered throughout the season where she is able to notice that there had been a mask or some sort of change.
He
that
seems younger now.
Younger.
Yeah.
Where's his sparkle?
So what I'm trying to convey by saying that we have an unfair perspective isn't that we're getting to see Jinshi's like conversations with like Goshin. That's not what I mean. We've seen other anime. We've read stories. We live in a time that is not the time period the story takes place. That's more of the perspective. Like the lengths that somebody would go to. The idea that you can have an anesthetic or being able to fake death is so fucking absurd to majority of people within this world and specifically this region that it's only referred to as fantasy. So the idea that Jinshi would be faking himself being a eunuch is fucking absurd. Fuck. We don't know Jinshi's real name potentially, you know?
Right, that's very true because he says that he became the 24-year-old eunuch Jinshi.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about the fact that we got him in the last couple episodes choosing a name for himself.
Jinka.
It makes you wonder if the name that he chose for himself
was his real name.
Not that it was his real name, but he added, I think, Ka, which I think Mao Mao said was flower. It makes me wonder, speculate if his real name is something that is similar to that degree of meaning. Like maybe he does have a more feminine name, as Mao Mao called it, and maybe part of it does mean flower or a specific flower, especially if we're talking about Fuyu. You know, we started this episode before even watching it talking about Cotton Rose Fuyu and talking about Morning Glories and now Thornapples and meanings behind these flowers. Not practical meanings, but also like rumor kind of spiritual meanings, about these flowers. So what if Jinshi's real name is something that has flower, is a specific flower that could point to more of a tie into his arc or how he feels or what his character is going to do.
I have a new favorite character.
Okay.
Like after this episode, I had Suri is got to be one of the coolest characters in all of the show. I feel like a fucking idiot, and that's how you know she's cool. The idea that we're spending episodes and discussions, who is this guy who poisoned Conan, nope. She utilized her own features, dressed up as a dude, and we've been seeing him this entire time, and it's actually been Suri.
I thought she had help.
I do think she had help, but I think this is Suri.
When we see the eunuch leave the coffins down, there's one lingering.
I think that was Suri.
Oh, so you think someone planted the uniform there for her to change into?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking that, I needed to look at them side by side to see if the eye color was the same. But then when we got the shot of the eunuchs, I guess eunuchs, I don't really know the difference in terms of, how they're dressed, if that tells me exactly what they are, where they're stationed. When they're all leaving, I guess I took that as that was someone placing something there for her, or a person that was working with her, and not that was her leaving dressed in the clothes. I could totally be wrong and off base, but that's how I interpreted it being Suri, and it being her and in our face the entire fucking time, and we're not even we're not nowhere close. We were never anywhere close to talking about the guy being Suri, but I'm gonna try to pull up a picture of her. Look, it's in the same fucking shot with the eye. Yeah, and she's tall for a woman. Yeah. I guess I was going there during the first half of the episode. I was like, okay, I need to see a picture of them next to each other. I need to see those eye colors again. But then once we got the shot of all of them laying the coffin down and the one person kind of lingering, I was like, oh, okay, they're two separate people. But now I want to rewatch that scene and what dialogue was happening over top of it that made my brain change from its one thought to another. In this episode we were talking about episode. Yeah, cool. Okay, I'll pull it up. They set up a different coffin with another corpse to replace it, then disguised her as a vendor to walk out.
And then we get to see her as him.
Okay. I just thought, since there was a group of other people,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay.
She was blending in with the other vendors.
So what I'm trying to imagine is someone quickly changing their outfit while other people are in the room and then leaving with them.
Well,
and that doesn't seem real. Or are all of these other people in on it?
No, not necessarily.
Then how do we join the crowd without them being like, there's one guy here more than what we had before we walked into this room?
Once they do come in, then it's blending in with them.
So hiding behind a door, they enter, you leave behind them? And they just don't notice?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we are this whole, like,
that's why
season...
Jinchi literally says they employed such a risky method.
That is really risky. Honestly, and, like, we bring up all the time how luckily the individuals that Mao Mao is around are incredibly smart and able to kind of jump from one hoop to another and figure things out, while we also get this contrast of people that are so ready and willing to, like, emotionally dive and believe so wholeheartedly into crazy rumors and curses.
The idea that, like, Mao Mao is like, I'm glad she isn't dead. I want to meet her and I want her to teach me how to make this. Like, we're talking about a character that not only faked her own death and successfully managed to escape, but a character who was able to kill multiple people without any type of suspicion until after the fact. I love her so much.
I want to talk a little bit about understanding, like, we are told what Mao Mao's perspective is, and it could just be a translation thing that's leading me a certain way.
You're under more of the side of giving Mao Mao a hint.
I wouldn't say I'm on a side. I'm saying that that's an option because
Okay.
of the wording. Because of the wordage of Mao Mao viewing this experience as being tested this entire time. And I also feel like when you put a feeler out there so big, like you're literally leading someone breadcrumb-wise with the idea of telling Mao Mao you're going to be planting morning glories, you're putting something out there, like, yes, could be a test in terms of should you be wary or worried about this individual catching you, or is it like you want or hope that they do? I mean, both are possibilities.
By the way she spoke, as if testing me, right? I'll be planting some morning glories here. And
a medicine for... She brings up the idea to Mao Mao of a medicine for resurrection. Totally unneeded, but she brings it up.
I think it's more of, like, she's incredibly careful, and whatever motive she has to be so significant that within this conversation with Mao Mao, there was potential that somebody as skilled as Mao Mao would already be able to differentiate that what the idea of morning glories could be, masked as a different plant that could help out with this, like with her entire plan. And it's kind of like a cold reading, right? You're feeling if, like, Mao Mao or the person you're talking to had already, like, pieced something together or had suspicion, so that she gets a confirmation, okay, Mao Mao's in the dark, she doesn't have suspicion of me, I can go ahead forward with my plan.
I mean, just like Jinchi said, risky methods. I think that's a risky method if it is being thought of as a cold read, trying to gauge exactly how good of an apothecary Mao Mao is.
Yeah.
Because to not only give someone the idea of a medicine that can help with resurrection, but also say something along the lines of, I was just wondering how good of an apothecary you are, and then also say you're planting morning glories.
Dude, think about the reaction that Mao Mao gave her. Like, in the idea of, like, a plant that you could, like, that could resurrect somebody, that is all confirmation.
But then she gave more information after that, which is, like, part of me is like the why? Why would you tell her more of your plan if you've already done your cold read that she doesn't know what you're talking about?
Because she's fucking incredible. She's amazing.
I don't know.
Love her.
Like, part of me thinks that if you're playing a game and you're a high level intellectual, you kind of might deep down hope that there's someone that can play at your level.
Sure.
Like if you watch, like, a Criminal Minds or something, like, sometimes the criminal they enjoy the cat and mouse game, or even the cat and cat game. They enjoy when there is an opponent that is able to follow behind them pretty closely, figure out their moves,
I
and
get
they can
you.
do a back and forth, and it's maybe more fun that way.
So my reasoning, like, because that I acknowledge that's definitely like a trope and or like a quality or trait of people who operate in that way, but that's ignoring what motive lies underneath Suri's action. Like, whatever motive lies under her actions is so much more substantial than any type of like, oh, I get excitement out of somebody close to me, or like a rival, you know? Like, Suri, whatever, which we need to fucking talk about. Like, what fucking information does Suri have? Is she working for somebody, or is she, how close is she to whatever situation is in front of her? But it has to be massively important if we're looking at it as an assassination attempt specifically on Jinshi.
It's years in the making. I think something that should evoke that years in the making to us is we get Jinshi's current age in this episode, and it just made my brain go, oh my god, how many years have passed since Mao Mao has started, like, living here?
I assume like, 2, right?
Yeah.
If we're getting 19.
But it's like my brain kind of went like, you know, hearing like an 8. Like, I was still almost operating with like 17. And so when I heard, and so like, that's what I'm bringing up. It's like years in the making. Sir Conan, that was like, what, like a year ago? So it's like years of someone quietly behind the scenes creating these happenings.
It's insane.
And I appreciate that as a viewer, because I'm like, if all of these things were to realistically, if all of these things were to happen within the span of a couple weeks, they would have been linked way sooner.
Yeah.
It's because someone was able to space them out. People just living their day-to-day lives weren't going to connect one thing to the other. It's like catching a serial killer. Like, you're not going to, like, connect one crime to the other if they're, like, the motive seems slightly different, or the means, the MO seems slightly different, or they're in a different state from each other, or the timeline isn't exactly the same.
Yeah. Within the nature of the story, I am like at a loss for trying to theorize a way that Suri could come back with like within the palace, or within like a face-to-face interaction with Mao Mao, that they could continue their rivalry. But like, because obviously she faked her own death, and we're privy to it, rather although that we did keep it like quiet. So that is an exciting thing for me going forward. But in terms of trying to figure out what the motive of Suri is, right? We got whispering to Lao Lin by one of her court ladies, or, you know, that all but confirms for me that Suri and Lao Lin have a connection and are in communication. Now, if that's the case, and they have a connection or in communication, is Suri working on behalf of Lao Lin, or are they working together? We were given a bit of information about Lao Lin that wasn't like the funny cutaway of the Emperor not being able to recognize her. Lao Lin's father is an important high-ranking official who was the previous Empress Dowager's favorite. He needs to be careful around her. What familial potential connection does Lao Lin have to the royal family that
the plot to okay, so we have another character on the table who was Empress Dowager, something to do with them, and that is Mao Mao's adopted father. He was given, you know, permissions by her to study abroad. He was made a eunuch by her. And here we have another character that would be closely tied to the Empress Dowager. We have what was on the table as a murder plot of Jinshi. Why would someone who either was an oust, like when we're getting a previous favorite, are we getting the idea that this man might have also been ousted by Empress Dowager and by the royal palace in the same way that Mao Mao's father did? Or are we getting that maybe he's still important.
Yeah.
And maybe still
I think
well-liked.
that's fascinating. Because what breeds within the idea of being ousted or having any type of any type of negative thing overcoming you is resentment and wanting a sense of revenge going forward.
But why kill Jinshi? How high would it go, and what would the motive be to kill Jinshi? We have the idea that a lot, obviously we know, heirs were dying before Mao Mao got here. Like, the white powder incident and Lady Luha's kid dying was not the first issue with heirs dying with the current emperor. At least that's what I'm remembering. Makes me wonder if someone has consistently been trying to make sure there's not another male heir, which makes me worried about Lady Gyokyu, which could be another reason why Jinshi is placing Mao Mao in the pavilion with Lady Gyokyu.
Yeah.
Who and why would you want to make sure there's not other than the emperor? Because I'm not suspicious of the emperor here, the current emperor. Why would you want to ensure that this current emperor doesn't have a male heir?
Yeah.
That's the question that I'm currently asking in my head.
Because then the next in line, if the emperor doesn't have a male heir, could be somebody who has more of an argument biologically to royalty. And that could come from Lao Lin somehow. Maybe. The idea of previous Empress Dowager's favorite,
it makes me suspicious of the Empress Dowager.
Yes.
Mainly
agreed.
because we have been given this idea that it's possible that some people or someone have pieced together who in the actual high ranking, who Jinshi actually is. Would the possibility be there that the Empress Dowager would be the fact that the person that would take I don't know, because the emperor is still her son, so she shouldn't have resentment toward him, but then again, her child was swapped, so it's okay for her to be angry about something and have a distaste for Jinshi. But if she knows. I'm trying to piece together who possible suspects of how high this goes.
Yeah.
How high ranking this goes in terms of a murder plot for Jinshi.
I wonder, okay, narratively, does Gyokyu have a son if Jinshi is the emperor's son?
So I would want to go back to the scene of Jinshi on the bridge before I talked about that. He's walking on the bridge and he's talking about the idea of an heir being born.
He just needs to make himself a new prince.
Mm-hmm. Is that he needs to make himself a new prince in order to continue to hold this seat.
Maybe. However, concubine Aoduo gave birth around the same time, received no attention, resulting in the loss of her uterus. The current emperor's firstborn child was lost soon after. If that child had survived, which is let's take a second, visually, what are you conveying to us as a viewer right here? We go from the current emperor's firstborn child was lost soon after to a reflection of Jinshi then being thrown up to being actually seeing
if
Jinshi
that child had survived. Yeah.
Oh my god. It's perfect.
It's reminiscent of when Aoduo, instead of saying her child died, she says she lost her child.
Yeah.
He just needs to make himself a new prince. And is Jinshi, we still have no clue what it is that Jinshi wants for himself. Mm-hmm. We know that he wants a certain life for himself, and he believes he can, through being manipulated and being a pawn of the emperor, he can hopefully achieve that. But what is that? Does he not want the throne? Does he not want to be ever known as a true heir? Is he hopeful that a baby would be born? Is he being could he possibly be set up in the future to he is the one that all the heirs are dying? Is he being sent there to find out who is killing the heirs?
Empress Dowager looks a lot like Lao Lin. Gave birth to another child.
The colors that the Empress Dowager was wearing is similar to the first outfit we see Lao Lin in.
Yeah.
Which could come could be purposeful.
Damn.
We also don't know we know all of the concubines come from important families.
Mm-hmm.
So it very well could be that the Empress Dowager has familial ties to Lao Lin. That's very possible.
That could give Lao Lin resentment or ill will and motive. That's but I don't know like what like I don't the biggest thing for me is like how like the realization of who Jinshi actually is and how that happened for people that are not on screen right now. How the fuck would that come to be? I don't know.
Well, just easy things would be if the baby that had been born had some sort of birthmark and you recognize that this child does not have that. It could have been through conjecture only that it was surmised.
Just like, oh, they like the hair color seems kind of sus. Yeah.
Like it could be something like literally
I like
they could tell because
birthmark.
It's not like they could do blood tests. So it could be something more like there was something on the body of the child that would be recognizable. Is it possible that this plot of getting rid of heirs and even getting rid of Jinshi before Lao Lin's entrance or with Lao Lin's entrance is because of wanting someone other than Lao Lin. I don't think Lao Lin seemingly wants to be here or give birth. She doesn't really strike me at the moment as one that's like trying to woo the emperor so that she can have his heir. But she's probably... I could see a plot where she was put here because of a father figure wanting to be the like grandfather of the next emperor, you know, wanting to establish your family continuously as important. And so you get rid of all the other, because you know that the emperor doesn't want to touch young girls.
Yeah.
So you wait until Lao Lin is of an age that the emperor might be interested in her and then put her in there so that she can hopefully mother the next heir.
Just the attempted killing of Jinshi is wild. Like I can't wait. Cause you know when we're given the entire like motive and reasoning for it, we're gonna be like, that makes so much fucking sense because of how well written the story is. You're bringing up wanting to be like the grandfather of an heir, right? Great segue. Goshin.
Okay.
Love it.
Is Goshin actually we have Mao Mao realizing that Goshin is sitting amongst the military officers pretty high up. We now know that he has children and grandchildren. I'm thinking he's not actually a eunuch either. Neither is Jinshi, and that they are both taking some sort of hormone blocking, testosterone blocking medicine. Just to kind of keep the facial hair and younger, you know, maybe softer features, softer voice, not growing a beard. Because Goshin takes it too. And this is a kind of new in the making plot that the 24-year-old Jinshi entered the scene. So, and if he's already fathered children, he could have been made a eunuch after fathering the children. He could have been, but he takes it too.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's because he's not a eunuch either, and he also has to take this to keep up appearances.
Yeah. I think it's just an interesting like narrative plot point to not only like say, if you keep drinking this, it will make you impotent one day, but bringing up the idea of Goshin wanting out to be able to spend time with his grandkids in the actual way of marriage. Like that's what he brings up to Jinshi, like settling down, marrying someone. Only like Mao Mao, you know, like there you go. I don't know how it's actually gonna play out, but it feels like it's a little more like, oh my god, it's coming, like it's happening.
It makes me still again wonder, what is it that Jinshi wants? Does he want out? Is he like, if I play my part here, then I will get to live comfortably elsewhere and have a wife and a child and a maybe calmer lifestyle? Or does he kind of want to be recognized for who he really is? what is it that he exactly wants?
There's other desires that he has individually, but what has been standing out specifically in this episode is how much care and thought goes into what's going on with Mao Mao and trying to separate her from Lacan.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, like, with his own virtuous ideologies, whether that will become less of a precedent as his relationship with Mao Mao grows closer, and how much of a, importance her and his relationship will be over anything else.
Right, like he definitely makes the choice because we know he has the power to do so for her to be allowed back into the rear palace to be within Gyokyu's pavilion.
I missed Gyokyu.
And like he's really going above and beyond here of what he has to do in order to protect her, but also it is probably in the long run we might see that it's safer for Gyokyu that this is the case, because I would be worried about her being pregnant and what that would mean and if someone would try to sabotage the pregnancy. But in terms of thinking about her, like we've seen Jinshi try his hardest to not manipulate Mao Mao's position and force his own desires onto her. But here he feels very clearly, I think, that he knows what she would want. She wants a reason to not have to see him. And it's really interesting that now he feels comfortable making a choice for her and kind of overreaching and using his position in order to secure her this job she already got fired from. And it's like, what has transpired since the episode of the firing where he doesn't feel comfortable to then the episode of the eunuch and courtesan where he realizes that she kind of would like to stay and didn't want to be fired.
Yeah.
And to now where he feels a little more confident or comfortable doing something, like taking her will out of it. But, that's not actually what he's doing. He's giving her an out. He's creating an out for her.
I have 2 things left to talk about.
I have 1 thing left to talk about.
My first is I hope that Mao Mao got the ox bizarre. We didn't see it.
It's bizarre.
I hope it happened. She deserves it.
I'm sure she got it.
My other thing was, like, we talked about, like, how much time had passed. Mm-hmm. One of the best things to convey that this episode was seeing the Emperor and Gyokyu's daughter and seeing how he was just, like, vibing with her. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. It was incredible.
Right. He seems like
a good guy.
I have not been given any reason to be suspicious of the Emperor or think too poorly of him. I think that anything I've been given that is a slight negative is purely just related to his position of power and importance.
Yeah. And
maybe not a reflection of who he is genuinely as an actual person outside of his position. So, yeah. I definitely liked seeing him interact with his daughter, because you would also get the feeling that within his daughter being born, he also had a son born at the same time, but the son died. It could be possible that an emperor would not want to see his daughter, especially because she lived while the heir died.
100%.
And he doesn't want to touch Lishu. He has no interest. And he still makes a point to come visit Laolin once a week, even though he's not necessarily interested in her.
Mm-hmm. Visits all of the courtesans, isn't a P3DO, and spends time with his daughter. Let's go. Dude, what was the last thing you wanted to talk about?
The last thing I wanted to talk about was the idea that Mao Mao chooses to not think about who Jinshi is. She literally says, it would cause trouble for me to know the truth here about him.
I relate to that so hard.
And I think that it's incredibly intriguing with her character, because while we've been given instances of her literally saying to us that if she's not curious about things, she will not retain the knowledge, she will not care to dig any further. And we've also been given instances of things that we now know, emotional impact-wise, scare her because they have to do with connection and her connection to other people. Therefore, she tries very hard not to think about them.
Yeah.
So when she really cares about someone, she seemingly tries to repress.
It's interesting that you say tries really hard, because that's not my interpretation because of how I'm inserting myself when I shouldn't be. Like, the idea of, if I continue thinking about this, it's gonna go down a bad path. I'm just not gonna do it. And then it's just that. Like, it's as simple as that. Like,
I want to hold on to her. We got this shot a few episodes ago when she's being told about this weirdo by Jinchi, and she starts to connect who she thinks it might be, and then she's like, don't think about it, and then we get her sweeping, and she's like, this is really difficult to not think about.
True.
So that's why
right.
I'm leaning towards trying to suppress
Very
it.
true.
But also, why would it be troubling for her to think about things that involve people that could have connection to her? Because she views herself as someone who left love behind in the womb of her mother.
Yeah.
And is rejecting of having
very
actual
true
connections with people.
And let's like also shout out the moment this episode that Mao Mao's like, wait, is he doing this so I don't have to like come face to face with Lacan? Does Jinchi care? Like, is he caring about me?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking substantial for Mao Mao.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to actually think through internally because of that leaving the love behind. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So what really is trouble for her?
Yeah.
The fact that she could lose her head if she finds out more about Jinchi or knows these secrets, or the fact that she'd become even more inclined emotionally to care about the person beside her.
Whew. Great episode. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.